Teacher's Pet is quite a sweet story, but a little slow in places. This is the second Salem Tales book from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, of course, and I have to say the cover for this one is rather delightful. I rather enjoy this one. It's written by Trisha Barnes-Farney, as you can see there. For anybody who's interested, there's the back of the book, and we have the little in reverse. Well, that wasn't very clever, was it? Little flip, which always amuses me. And in this one, Salem decides to stow away in Sabrina's backpack because, well, because he's looking for a book initially. And then he's not convinced that school is as hard as Sabrina says it is. So he stows away. And when Sabrina finds out, she threatens to send him back home. But they come to an agreement and she lets him stay in her bag throughout the day. But things don't necessarily go according to Salem's plan. I won't say any more than that, but also, to be honest, there's not too much more to say. Not a lot happens. And I feel like there's no obvious narrative structure. I mean, there is in theory a beginning, middle, end, but when you think of the plot points, not much happens. And then maybe towards the end, quite a lot happens at once. So it's very, very slow and very slow going. And obviously, being a fan of Sabrina, I'm always just happy to read about Salem and read about Sabrina because I can imagine the classrooms and the other characters. It's not so bad. But let's say, for example, I'd never seen Sabrina and I was reading these with no knowledge of the TV show, I wouldn't be able to visualize that much. There are no real descriptions. There are no descriptions of what Valerie looks like or Harvey. So there wouldn't be that much to imagine. And at the same time, there's not that much going on in the narrative either. So I feel like it's lacking a little bit in quite a lot. But being a fan of the show, being a fan of Salem, I can draw on those other references and kind of fill in the gaps myself. So the quality will depend on what your own reference points are. But once it gets going, which, probably takes about that bit there, excuse my need to do my nail varnish, it takes quite a lot of the book for anything particularly interesting to happen. But I'm just happy to read about Salem, so I enjoyed it because I can picture things. I can hear Salem's voice, I can hear Sabrina's voice. But yeah, if I'd never seen the show and was just reading these for the stories because I liked cats, I guess, it would be a little bit dry and a little bit slow. So compared to the first one, Cat TV, which had an obvious mystery element and actually kept me wanting to read on to find out what exactly was going on with that, this one doesn't really have a hook. It doesn't really have that much going for it. So compared to the first one, it's not that good. Being a fan of Sabrina, I certainly enjoyed elements of it, but as an actual narrative, it's definitely lacking. The writing is decent size, chapters are quite short, good for the target audience, and for my 31-year-old self, I think it took about 15 minutes to read the whole thing, give or take. So it's a nice quick read, a nice way to think about Sabrina and Salem with a fresh story. It's just a shame the story itself is not that great.